Hello, everyone. It's Cheryl Millett here, live at 5, Monday, May the 4th. And I'm not quite sure how many of you are watching the news lately or the reporting lately, but it seems like there's definitely two sides to this event. Absolutely two sides to this event. But how is everybody doing? Because it certainly seems to me that we have people still in fear, still focusing on what this is going to be like or how long this is going to be on. And then you have other people that are definitely getting fed up. They're definitely at the end of their rope, so to speak, and they're questioning more and more. But that isn't the only thing. What is happening more and more out there is actually protesting, peaceful protesting, but protesting. And I'm not sure, I don't watch mainstream media that much, but hi, Angela. I'm not quite sure how many of you are actually seeing the peaceful protesting that's going on. I'm going to say around the world, but definitely not in Toronto, they had a peaceful protest as well. And the main messages that are coming through, and this is actually from other videos that gratefully, thank you. I'm so grateful for people sending me the ongoing videos. Keep doing that. It's great for me to kind of watch and get a sense and feel and be able to come onto video here and express things in different perspectives and try to make more sense of it and really get down to where our focus needs to be so that we can, as I put in that one post, I'm not sure if I'm going, but so if we have to choose from a menu, I would choose a new world, but without the order. And the order being the new world. And that is the new world. So that's our potentials and possibilities. I want to kind of mention that up right here. Hello, sis. I want to mention that right up here, right now, that as we are in the now, which you hear spoken off of many different people's tongue, is the many possibilities that circle around us, let's say. Uh, there's many of them at any one time, these possibilities from the moment forward, from in the moment after the now. There's these many different possibilities. These different possibilities are there, and it's the upside and it's the downside. Depends on kind of which direction you want to go in. These protesters are absolutely looking at the upside of this. And other doctors, lawyers, and other people are looking at the upside as this is an opportunity to call out and to make others accountable for what's happening here. But what's also coming out the upside is that as this stuff is coming out now, it's giving them the voice and the confidence to speak out now more than ever, which is great. So they're pulling together, certain people are pulling together a string of events, let's say, not just from these past few months or 6 months or 7 months or a year, from years previously. And they're pulling all this information together for us to educate us on the goings on, and this goes back hundreds of years or even thousands of years. As I mentioned to you, I'm reading this book called Sapiens, and in this book, Sapiens, it's a brief history of mankind, is I believe is the title, the subtitle there. And in this book, when it gets to capitalism, but it gets to, and the titles are crazy, the ugly of capitalism. So he kind of nails it with this kind of point, which is capitalism made it easy or raised money for people to explore, but also not just to explore. It wasn't all about science And they use science and culture and all of that to get to know the people, but conquering was the key there. So from our history books, we can understand conquering, conquering. What it moved into from there is corporations. That's where it moved into. And the governments that were, I guess you could say, a voice for the people, supposed to be a voice for the people, supposed to kind of keep order, organize things and all of that, were actually kind of under the thumb of the corporations. It details this there and how India and the British rule, what happened in this was kind of interesting. And it was the opium. So opium was something that obviously was discovered, and from the British and from corporations, they were selling opium into China for a number of years with no grief, and there was millions of Chinese. So let's just talk over the last 200 or 300 years, were addicted to opium. When China went to banish them, and was setting up it so that, hey, this isn't cool, right? The artillery came out, and China could not, in the book it says China could not fight against the artillery, what they had built up over time. So the ships came over, everything came over, and basically, I think there was some sort of a rummage or that. I'm not sure if it's a war, if they call it that or not. But then that said, okay, well, we can't beat you, British, let's say, or whoever was part of that. Maybe France was part of that as well. The Dutch seemed like they were in there as well from a corporate standpoint, and that, and so it continued on, the opium, and that's where Hong Kong was created as a British rule for so many years, and I think it was 1997 that it stopped. It was 100 years or more, something like that. And that's why that kind of happened to do with the opium. So drugs come from corporate, just having control over corporate, the Federal Reserve, corporate, the CDC, corporate. You're going to keep hearing this, corporate, 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 because it seems like it is the corporate that is trying to pull the wool over our eyes and create Hollywood and feed all these images and ideas and stuff through movies, but then buy up the mainstream media and actually then filter you the information, us, the people, what they want us to believe, what direction they want us to think. And this seems to be where we are today in an idea where there is a possibility that they think they could rule the whole world. It'd be a corporate entity, not really government. It seems like that is more of a smoke and mirrors kind of thing, and that kind of thing. So it's really coming down to we the people as being realizing and recognizing what's happening on here, and it really does mean that we educate ourselves, absolutely. So continue to kind of find, maybe I'll put a couple of links down below that you can look at. Some of the links I've got recently. There's more links than I can watch in an all day, and same with you. I'm going to say our main focus still has to be calm, to be kind to each other, to take the middle ground or the middle road, and therefore we're open. So we're not necessarily ever taking sides here. We're trying to focus in on taking care of ourselves, thinking for ourselves, and maintaining freedoms. We don't, even if, like I said this before, you don't understand, you don't agree with, and maybe some people are kind of just trying to exaggerate to get you on their side. That can happen on either side. But the point is, we want to maintain our freedom. Absolutely. That's what we want to hold on to, that for sure. If it feels like we're not, and we're taking, and I know people will say, well, isn't it better for us to get vaccines? Isn't it better for us to be safe? Isn't it better that they do this so that half the population, like the Spanish flu, isn't died off? But it really seems like some of these things are set up, they're plays, they're games, they are positions that are being taken for a way to say, what was it that somebody said? Sometimes I don't really get to know who these people are saying it, but there's this idea, and I'm gonna bring this up as in a three thing. I've heard this before, and this one gentleman on one of the videos that I receive a few times, and that is what happens if you want to have a direction, if you have a kind of idealism as to what you want to see happen in the world, for your country, in your company, whatever it is, you come up with a problem. And so some of you might have heard this, but you come up with, there's a problem, there's a problem, there's a problem. You can make that problem. So let's pay attention to that part of it. Problem. It can be a man-made problem, a man-made virus, a man-made releasing of a virus, a man-made shooting so that we don't want guns. A man-made, so lots of man-made traumatic events that we would never think that who in this planet would actually do that. Think of it. Create the problem, and then you have the people reacting in fear. So now you got this fear mongering coming out. This, and then it can just spread, and then it becomes, all the different language. If you hear some of the language, it's all about getting the fear into people, the worry, the anxiety, and then come up with a solution. So problem, reaction, and then the same people who created the problem come up with the solution. It's brilliant. And as they did in the past, in this book, Sapiens, it was clear that what they did back then was all about who had the bigger guns, who had the bigger army. And that seems like that was the best. So if the corporations didn't like the positions that countries were taking, they could come in and put that strong military war. So maybe we're not ever going to see the same wars that we've seen in the past, because that's not what the people buy into as much as violence to get to peace. It never has happened, and it probably won't ever happen, even though they might want you to think it's happened. But that, again, what they want you to think is coming through the very streams that are owned by the corporations. Their own is perfect. It's like risk game and playing risk. And you just see, when I was a teenager and I played Risk, I learned then that this whole world and the different borders and the different countries and the conquering and all of that was like the Risk game. Games were played. You learned what it takes to manipulate or control people. You learn what it takes using psychology, how to get the army all revved up, and lies. Lie to the army that, look, this is what they did to us 30 years ago. Eons ago, they didn't have all, didn't do the reading, didn't do the books, didn't do any of that. So people would know. It's just this big word called trust that comes out. So in many cases, I want, just kind of going on that formula, problem, reaction, solution, is the understanding that upsides and downsides are always there. So that's why it's easy for the people to buy into certain things, because they show the upside. So what's the upside of not using cash anymore? Well, it's easy. We've learned it by tapping, so we got our cards. They've got us used to, okay, so before you had to bring out the cash from your wallet and you had to count and everybody had to count and it to know what change went back, and it was a bit more effort, and then it's this, and then okay, so now you can just tap, so technology is a way, I believe, that even if they could give you the ultimate technology today, they wouldn't, because it's more about knowing it's only going to get better. That's the upside of us thinking, the upside of technology. Same with the five George. I'm just going to call it the five George, the fifth George. That particular scenario is the same thing. The upside to that for many of us can say, wow, my internet will never go out anymore. I will never lose my signals. Look, we all have times where we can understand where we've lost signal. We all do. And we're way out in the country and all of this, and we all kind of get bothered by that. So for them, the upside for bringing in more of the radiation, the things that don't serve our health, is that we all kind of think that way. But the downside for humanity, for animals even, where they've tested it, and birds die and things like that, is what does that do to our vibration? What does that do to people who already have a suppressed immune system, all these different conditions in health? And I said, right from getting a better time than to look at where we're taking care of ourselves, and the important things to us is now. This is where we get to see, they're showing us that we have a lot of people that are in that position, from obesity to diabetes to alcohol addiction, all of the addictions. The mental illnesses, then over top of all of that, the cancer, the cardiovascular disease, those being two of the ones right up there. So this is a great time. That's the upside to this event, is people are making their houses homes. People are realizing they work too much. People are realizing that just in a short period of time, the climate has cleared up in a short period of time. And so is it so devastating, this whole climate change, or is it just another way for us to feed into, how can I say it, corporate agendas? How much money is being made through some of these, through some of these things, like the Cancer Society, how much money they make, lots of money, raising funds, and they're not for profit, so they don't have to pay the same taxes. Perfect corporation, all that kind of stuff. So, hi, Arnie. Yeah, just like wars. So there's a lot that I'm saying here, but the idea really to come down is we got to look after ourselves. Number one. Number two, if we're in a position to help other people, if we come from that place, it's the heart, the heart. Now, what is the heart upside down? If you look at a heart, you draw it and you tell me what the heart looks like upside down. And that's a reflection of the heart in the downside, the downside of it, not the upside. So the upside is we want to come from our heart. The downside is you look at the heart, you draw it out, and you tell me that's that. What else is it? It's like the five-pointed star, another image and reflection. So a five-pointed star with the fifth point up is, you see that, it's a star, it's a typical star, it's brightness. And then you turn it upside down and it's not bright anymore. It's a satanic symbol. It's using the words I learned from my teachers. It's me. So if you turn me upside down, what do you get? What do you get? some of this imagery is out there for us to figure out, for us to have that epiphany, the realization, and then to learn more deeply. Well, what does it mean to come from the heart? What does it mean to focus on the we? To be connected, to understand that we're connected and we're never alone, and we're not separated. We're in this together. Another upside for this event is to understand we are in this together. A beautiful upside to this event is that we're all in this together. And we've always been in it together. Always. It's never got, it's just our own thinking that got us thinking that we're not part of something, and that we don't belong. So upside and downside is for all of us to think about that in many ways. This is where you can get into the appreciation, you can get into the gratitude. The downside is the education piece, is to understand what is the downsides of some of these things, not get caught up in the upsides, but what are the downsides. So we're looking at both sides. We're open to looking at both sides. This has been used for years and years and years. Anybody's analyzing a problem or moving forward into something, what's the upside, what's the down? Corporate businesses, they've used it for a very long time, and it's a great way to bring into any project, or to bring into any when you're looking at anything. What's the upside? What's the downside? So lots of upsides here, lots of upsides, and probably just as strong as it feels like from the other side, the push, the downsides on this side, where they want us to have mandatory vaccines. They want us to understand martial law is a good thing. They want us to understand staying inside is a good thing. Just do as you're told. Never been very good at that. But that's kind of the thing here to be mindful of, because the truths sometimes are covered in the mud. They are in the mud, and they can stay in the mud because they get clouded by who can we believe, who do we believe, who do we listen to. And this is the whole thing about authority, right? Authority, who we have authority. When Dr. Fauci's in big trouble, I mean, he's in huge trouble. CDC, they're big. Clintons are in big, huge trouble. The governors are going to be more and more held accountable for what they're doing. It's clear from health standpoint that you don't isolate the healthy. You don't isolate the healthy. You protect and you isolate the people who could be affected, but you would do that at any level. It's no different than if there's a hurricane. Everybody needs to kind of take safety there. So there's always that. No one of us are going to be able to stand in that kind of storm and go, well, it can't happen to me. But we actually do that sometimes. We actually think it can't happen to us. But when it happens, we really have to take note. It's not about being deflated or defeated or anything. So some of us might feel that way, but the idea is we really have to kind of step into, well, what's next? The possibilities we have for at any one given moment for any different situation. And so here the possibilities are the people are actually coming together and together in a way, as the one fella, they were in front of some parliament buildings, and you can see all the I don't know what they call, but army forces, whatever, they're there all suited up, masked up, which is great. And so, I mean, he was just, kind of pulling out that, we need to work together, and it doesn't matter if you're Democratic or Republican. It doesn't matter if this or that. And this is the middle ground. This is the part where we come together. That's where we got to kind of keep thinking. We got to come together. How do we do that? We can ask ourselves that question. How do we do that? What are the main focuses when they're important? So we don't tend to have those conversations as much as we just regurgitate how the weather was or how things happened in the past. But it is coming more and more into the moment to find that calmness, to find the kindness, not only for ourselves, but also for other people, and the compassion. I think that's all the important, the important thing. The shocking that's going to be kind of more and more, because some of us can see it more than others, is that if you thought certain things ran a certain way, meant a certain thing, and all of a sudden that kind of crumbles before you, that's the shocking part. The shocking part is people are going to be thrown for a loop as more and more of this stuff comes out. And we have to be there for those people more than anything. It's not about that's not the time. See, you were wrong. It's not the time. And it's no different than people coming clean. But is it time to beat them up? Is it time to throw them to the wolves? It's really not time to do that. It's time to bring them together, and to keep bringing together for the truth, for the truth. So that's so shocking, whatever that means for any one of us. I'm sure some of you have watched certain videos and heard certain things and was shocked by it. So shocking is probably a good word to use, or a word that we can use for learning something new you had no idea existed. And there's no sense beating ourselves up over it, as in, well, why didn't I hear this sooner, or any of that. The idea is we're present in the moment, and we can do things about it now with the full range of possibilities in the next moment from now. So just something cute I want to kind of share right now, just kind of bring me down into being grounded here. Is something I want to show everybody. This is so high in vitamin C, and I've talked about foods and earlier on I talked more about the immune system and how the mind absolutely has much to do with our health, a lot to do with our health. Just think of all the thoughts that you can have and how they create your feelings and your emotions, and from your feelings and emotions, your physical body is responding to that. And in some ways, if you're very fearful or very worried, very anxious, the digestive system shuts down for the most part, and other things happen, hormones and certain things. So things kind of are supposed to work that way for the reasons they are, especially if you need to run like hell. So I want to show you a food here, because my biggest thing about how do you strengthen the immune system? Okay, so we understand the mind, but how do we strengthen it? We strengthen it with good, wholesome, raw foods. Now, there's going to be differences with our foods, and the best thing to understand is around food, it's not just about the food itself. It's how you eat the food. It's your dietary habits. It's appreciating your food. It's how you think about your food. It's the time you take to chew your food. It's the space that you allow yourself to eat. It's that space around you. Are you thinking and worrying? Are you busy? Are you watching a movie, or those kind of things? And yeah, so then, raw whole foods are not the top of the iceberg, I will say. They are something that we have a way to eat, but there's so many different healthy foods out there, different health. I know Arnie's on here, so my little bottle here of pumpkin seed oil, nice lightly, roasted. That doesn't make anything worse. What it does is it brings food into its taste, its flavor, and then I'm talking about lightly roasted here, not the highly refined, bleached and deodorized and chemicals and all of that. It's no different than you putting whole foods in a blender. Okay, there's similarities here, where if you put whole food in a blender, it breaks it down for the digestive system. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. The Inuits would take their food and put it in a carcass, let's say, or some skins from what I hear, and they'll bury it in the ground. And when it comes out, it's full of all kinds of lovely stuff. Let's just call it natural fermentation. And so fermentation is the process in which to help our body, because we just bugs, germs, bacteria, viruses, they're all part of our environment. Every single of that is just all part of our environment. If you haven't listened to the George Carlin about germs, very cute, very cute. It's too bad there wasn't a child version of that, but you'll get the gist that we need not be afraid of those things. We need not be afraid. If you're a raw foodist, you need not be afraid of lightly roasted pumpkin seed oil, right? So it's that fear, it's believing and taking a position about foods, where what can happen. When I was presenting on a topic called eating disorders, there was actually an eating disorders in the psychiatric book where there's reasons for you to be fearful of a lot of foods. They're like this, they're like that. So all of a sudden you've narrowed in on only very little food, that you're just afraid to eat anything. And that is not any of us should be based on our diet choices, not from fear. Not from fear. So if you're going to eat that McDonald's hamburger because you haven't had it for a very long time, and it just brings back warm memories, times, whatever, party, whatever it is, and whatever that food is, call it comfort food, call it whatever you want. Just how you think about it is going to be the most valuable part in that whole thing. And which foods and diets do we choose? You doing it out of love, or are you doing it out of fear? Because people put the fear into you. Oh my God, animals are bad, and you've got to eat vegetarian, or a menace on the world. This is the downside and the upside, people. There is definitely, and when we think of commercial food, downside, downside, downside. But if you think of healthy farms, the cows being outside, not a whole group of them and eating whatever food they choose to give them to eat, that's a different thing altogether. It's a different thing altogether. So I want to show you something that's very, very high in vitamin C. And this is all about me exploring foraging wild foods just because I can. I don't want you to get the thinking that you have to do this. This is the end all and the be all. Now, if you never do it, it's not going to make you any less healthy or any less of a person. Or I definitely want to get that point across, as you see many people kind of educating you on all these maybe new things, create cool things. So I'm going to show you these. I'm going to see if I can get them up. So if you can see what these things are, I kind of posted it earlier about what is it? And let's just see if it'll actually come up, if I can see if the camera will actually focus in on it. Probably not, hey? It looks a little, you can see, but this is very, very, very high on vitamin C. And this is something, especially to the north here, where we have any spruce trees, and you can eat them. So at this time of the year, the spruce trees have the new growth at the end. There is kind of a golden brown, that's kind of paperish thing that kind of covers off, that you can see when they're starting to come out, and they just swell and they burst out of that paper. When they're just bursting out, they're this beautiful light green. And if you eat them, they're sprucey. They're sprucey. So just eat them. It reminds me more of that kind of mint thing. And it was a little bit strong. But what I find, you have a new bottle style now, Ernie. That's kind of cool. So this is so you can put this into salads. I have 3 of these trees, actually 4 of them, but 2 is the only ones I could harvest. I just started doing it last year, but they were bigger than these ones, and they're a bit stronger. But when I ate this with some apple, the flavors, the somewhat strong sprucey, as you can imagine smelling it, just melted into the apple. So it wasn't even that strong when I eat with an apple. So I've already eaten a couple of tablespoons. That's something that we have, that's how in our environment, we probably have a lot more food that we can eat than what the commercialization of the various foods. You probably heard this. Once upon a time, you thought all carrots were orange. Once upon a time, you thought all tomatoes were red. And once upon a time, you thought, there's only iceberg lettuce. And then things kept growing. But still, more and more is yet to come out. So even pumpkin seed oil, I don't know, Arnie, you don't even, I love George Carlin. Yeah, George Carlin is great. He just, if you haven't watched George Carlin, from the political, from, all of that kind of stuff. This is sold in some stores, but it's not, it was used in other countries, but that's the beauty now of the global. That's the upside of globalization, is being able to share some of this good, healthy food that's been used or consumed in various countries around the world, and we can have them as well. It's just being mindful to understand consumption here. Sometimes we think just because it's good for us, we consume more. I'm learning more and more that we don't have to eat as much as we think we do. And surely the restaurants don't have to serve those big portions. It's insane. It's crazy. And so it's probably something that just we got to give time here, a little bit of time for things to kind of settle in. But I will leave you this with some homework. And I'll leave you with some homework. And the homework is, what you would like to see is what you're going to ask for. And I'm going to give you a story and an example here. Absolutely want to give you the story because it used to make me chuckle every time this situation come up. It makes me laugh. Okay, here's the story. So I'm not sure how many years ago. I'm going to say 15 years ago, 10 years ago, thereabouts, 10 to 20 years ago. Every time anybody says, let's order a pizza, maybe you know where I'm going with this. Let's order a pizza. And this is pizza. So I would, somebody's going, okay, I'm going to order a pizza. And I'd say, okay, well, ask for whole wheat. And then people would say, my husband would say, but we know they don't have. So at first time he would ask, but then the second time I'd ask, and he'd say, but Cheryl, we already know that they don't have whole wheat. And I go, I know, but I want them to know that I want whole wheat. And so if it's 10 different people, or maybe if they're asked, or maybe they have to jot it down. If any good business is out there, they're actually looking for feedback. They're looking to see what people are looking for. And that's besides surveys and all of that. And when you start asking for something, it's like let your dollars speak. What you choose to spend your money on is the corporations are watching. They're watching with big eyes. That's why they have the document that they get. Now it's a particular company, it doesn't come to my mind, but it's something you'll probably have heard of. So all the grocery stores, let's just say, they compile their information into a central database, and anonymously reports are printed out for all of them so that they can see what is selling and what is not selling. And they could go back to, they probably have their inner reports as well, but they can kind of see what trends are. And they have their inner reports so that they could say to the supplier, this is how much we sold, whatever it is, and then move accordingly. People will buy. That's why I'm absolutely still crazy about why is there a whole, I think it's actually smaller now, used to be a whole aisle dedicated, at least one side of the aisle, to pop, for many years, to pop. So until we all stop buying pop, but then you can kind of see in the aisle that it's shrunk, and now you got to come in with the vitamin water. You've got all these other waters started to creep in, waters that may even just be tap water, waters that who knows, who knows what's happening there. But you kind of see that trend, more people drinking water. So the pop aisle started to just more for a section of it on water, but it's still all there. Diet pop included. It's still all there, even though there is proof that artificial sweetener is not good for us. It takes time, but that's what the challenge, not challenge, homework going forward. Anything that we want, especially for those who understand kind of the healthier trend, let's say, I would just ask, and I keep asking every time I go someplace and there's, do you have this? And so herbal tea is one of them. Years ago, I would start going in and only go into the coffee shops. I had to have water, I think, for years, only because they didn't have herbal teas. And every time I go in, I'd be asking for an herbal tea, just because it brings up conversation, perhaps. It brings up the idea that people want it, and I would tell that to other people as well. You go into Loblaws, and if there's a particular thing that you want, go to customer service and let them know that you want it, and they will make note of it and maybe even bring it in for you. So the idea here is to ask for what you want. We can trail that into all kinds of areas of our life as well. But I think that's what I'm going to leave you with. So that's the beauty. The beauty in life is we actually are not always talking about image. We're talking about beauty in life as being, we can ask for what we want. We can look at everything in its own beauty. So if we're using the example of flower, sometimes go, I like this flower because of this, and I don't like that flower because I don't like yellow. And so we get into, we get in that thing of thinking some things are beautiful and some things aren't. Well, there's beauty in everything, even in the things that, let's just say, they survived and it's got a different shape. It's a certain tree. Maybe it's never going to be the same size as the other ones. But to see the beauty in that tree thrive and survive is beauty in of itself. And so we can see that within our children. We can see it within each other. It's not the image magazine. That's the same thing of corporations wanting us to want that, from fashion to car to a certain house or a certain decorating, how we look. I mean, quite frankly, how each and every one of us look, if we can't accept what we look like, what we've been born with, what we've been given, each and every one of us has got to come to terms with that. There's no, and anybody else is going to tell you any different. We've got to accept the whole, the things that we were born with in that way. And the people who don't, well, they have choices. They go out and absolutely make changes if they so wish. Gotta love them anyway. So there you go. That's really, really what I wanted to come in and talk about today. Those things, all those things. But just be aware of stepping into taking care of yourself now. That's the key thing, taking care of yourself and those who you have to take care of. And then once you kind of do that, that will just, for some of us, it just kind of morphs into helping other people. That might be our job anyway. So we just kind of move into it. It's natural for some people more than other people, but it is important to stay connected at this time more than ever. So taking yourself, staying connected, and being calm, finding the peace, finding the upside in this, but still understanding and being educated on the downside of some of the things that are supposedly occurring without getting wrapped up in it, without getting controlled by it. Absolutely. But that's what I'm here for. I'm here to help people work with their mind, their thoughts, and their health. It's really quite simple. And we can't beat ourselves up for thinking the way you're thinking, because we get it from all angles. It hasn't just happened in our generation or in our parents' generation. Some things have been happening generation after generation. You think about the institution, the education system. Where did that come from? Corporations. What did they want us to learn? What did they want us to believe? What did they want us to focus on so that they could get ahead, more powerful, all of that. So that's why science and technology are kind of big, because it can feed into what they want to see for the world. And we start to believe that science is the end all and be all of everything that they come up with, and the technology. But the scientists and the people in that arena will tell you. I remember listening to the geneticist who had he was balding, and so after kind of talking, he was being interviewed. The funny thing was, he came out and said, "Yeah, I think if we figured it out, I would be bald." Not that bald is a bad thing. I mean, that's our image thing that we have to get over. Could he grow his hair back? Perhaps. I mean, if there's different things. Right now, we're just so busy with being distracted, so busy without taking time, time out, that it's, it can take over, and then that just uses up more energy, uses up more nutrients, and people wonder why they have to be on so many supplements. It's because the body is just using it up with the stress, the tension, all those things. Just very, very simple. A simple equation, actually. So the other thing I want to mention, let's see, I did have a few notes in here. Did anybody ever draw the upside down heart to see what it looks like? And you can tell me what that is, or tell us what that is. And what, oh, I know what I want to do. This is something, not just something I've been thinking about in the last month or so, is the thereafter, the time, because it is going to happen, where we all get to move around freely. And so there's this teepee village about a couple hours north of here called New Earth Estate. And I'm going to put together an opportunity for us to, for anybody who wants to go to this teepee village. There's like hundreds of acres there, big property. We can hike there, not too far from there's beautiful waterfalls if we want to drive there. There's an outdoor sauna that is powered by firewood, big pit, an outdoor hot tub, and there's a bunkie house, there's a cabin. So there's various, if you wanted to sleep in a bed, you could sleep in a bed. But the way the teepees work is they actually have a platform, a wood platform. So the fire pit's in the middle with the screens, and it's all set up for the air to come in. You fire, and the fire smoke goes out of the top, and you sleep around it. But it's a wood platform, and so it's soft that way. And they have the sleeping bags. You can bring your own, but the sleeping bags are quite warm. I'm going to say -20, quite warm. So you bundle up. So at night you don't get cold, but very refreshing. The stars you can see, crazy at night. There's a river that you can hear that's right beside the teepee village, and you have a comfort of a washroom that's heated, and you can take a shower in there. So it's actually powered in that part. So it's not like we have to go to outhouses. The lights turn on when you, bathroom facilities. Yeah, beautiful bathroom facilities. So we're not, we're not making it's not going to be dragging you in the middle of a forest somewhere, and it's like that. There's still some comforts of home, but the experience. So 2 nights, 2 days, that's what I'm thinking. Friday arrives sometime Friday evening, and then we leave Sunday at some point. It's just getting the questions. Some questions I have for that, if you want to put down, is if you're interested or not. That's always good. The interest is, would you want a cabin over the teepee? Would you just want teepee? There's only so many, 7 teepees, but they still can sleep 36. I'm not saying we don't even need to fill them up, to tell you the truth. Other people could be there if we don't, depending on the number of people who want to go. Do you want some activities? Do you want me to organize some activities, some group activities, or not? Just be on your own, let things roll that way. There's a list of activities anyway that I could provide, and you can organize amongst yourself. It could be that families want to go and bring their kids. There could be all kinds of different scenarios that can run, but I would have one of the teepees, Chief Joseph. That's it, Chief Joseph. It's a great teepee, the largest of the teepees, where a dozen people could come together, and we could do some even creative activities, I'm thinking. But just wanted to get a feel for what you want to get out of the weekend. If you're interested, I've started a list. There's already several people interested. Some have private messaged me, and that kind of thing. So welcome to hear your thoughts on that. It's a beautiful space, beautiful space. There will be the website link so you can see it for yourself as well. Put together a web page so you can understand what the time, what's involved, obviously the cost. So the timing for it is as soon as we can. So let's just say early June to maybe early August is the potential time in which this could unfold. And I might do a couple of other things as well, just to get us all back into feeling comfortable with each other and so forth. Yeah, so there might be a couple of those things that I might just come up with. And yeah, so there you go. There you go. So things to look forward to. And not just what I'm putting together. My main message is here, what can you put together for yourself, your partner, your family, whatever it is, for just yourself. What can you look forward to, that you're planning to put together, that it's a time, at the right time, hopefully sooner than later, that you can just go and do that. And there might be a few things, there might be one thing, there might be several things, whatever that is. I encourage you to work on that, work on that. So I'll work on this and share that when I have that done. Yeah, my sister says you won't be able to help yourself. There's definitely, how would I say, a bit of an adventure in yourself. Everybody has that side of them, the adventurous side, even though it may feel that you have questions that you're not quite sure, and what if this and what if that, and but I would just say, if it seems of interest to you, sounds adventurous, sounds exciting, you just do it. Don't think twice about it. Just do it. Whatever needs to work itself out with your questions, we'll get them answered. I mean, at any rate, I'm on top of it all. That's one of my key hats is organizer and leading things. So you are in good hands. Absolutely. That's what I want to put out there. That's another potential thing for you to do. A little bit of homework there and it might just for some roll off the top of your head, and for others it may take a day or two. Just put the question forth to yourself and then see what kind of comes up in time. So what could you do once everything is kind of, we're back, the healthy us's are out there and wanting to do things and get feeling like we're out in nature too as well, and doing healthy things, enjoying ourselves. So that's it for today. There's always plenty to talk about. Always plenty to talk about. Not that I'm a big talker. Trust me, I could stand there and be in a group of new people and just listen listen, and see what's what's on their mind. But other than that, yep, we're almost close to 55 minutes here. I want to thank everybody for coming on board. If you have any questions or any comments, feel free to still post them below. Anything that comes up to mind, you just want to private message me, great. I don't mind that as well. If you need any guidance, if you need any help, reach out, not only just to me, but reach out to other people as well. Feel like you can, just do it. You never know what will come out of it. The unknowns don't have to be scary. The unknowns can be exciting. That's the upside of the unknowns, is where it can take you to the exciting parts. I don't mean exciting part that it's going to be all the crazy good things that we think, like buying a lottery ticket. You're excited about, oh, the unknown is I don't know if I'm going to win or not. And you think it's the unknown. Listen, if you don't, you need to. But the idea is, that's a very poor example. Sorry for that. But anyway, take care, everyone. Best of health. Be calm. Stay connected. Look at both the upside and the downside of anything that happens. Just changing perspective. I will post something on New Earth Estate soon enough. I'm not sure when, but in the next week or so, I'll post something. Other than that, I am doing live Zoom videos once every Wednesday. Just it's easier for me to think about when I'm doing things, but every Wednesday. So this Wednesday is for those people who are interested in the walking holidays. And so the Ireland one from this June is now for next September. So the good news is I get to go on 2 next year. Newfoundland in June, and then Ireland in September. And we're already halfway full for the Ireland anyway, from what happened already before this June. And I know there's a lot of people that want to go to Newfoundland. So it's a great way to do that. But Wednesday with the Zoom, I'll post here the link, is a great way to learn more about it and to get a better feel for what it's all about, and to be able to ask all of your questions, because I have the answers to most of them, and if not, I can get them. So take care, everyone. Yeah, enjoy the rest of your day, and enjoy the rest of your week, and who knows when I'll come on. But again, I'm to make live at 5, so at least the timing is more consistent and easy for to know if I'm going to come on. But most likely I won't come on tomorrow unless something crazy happens. But I think we're settling into what this event is about and what people have to do and what's coming up. But I'll see what comes up, and you will know. I'll usually post it before, sometime during the day, if I'm going to come on. Usually that's been my habit to do that. Anyway, hugs, we call it air hugs, blowing kisses, all of that stuff to everybody out there. And that's just the beauty of it is I can do that. Now I can actually do that instead of, we're not feeling it from each other. But now that more and more people are communicating and seeing each other this way, you're able to do that. You're able to spend more time and see more people, and we're taking the time to do that. So it's great. Take care, everyone. This is a Live at 5, so make it official. Live at 5, Mondays, with your host, Cheryl Millett. Peace. And we will see you again soon. Take care, everyone. Bye for now. Enjoy.